Hello, my name is Kevin Waugh and I'm the Corps Officer of the Salvation Army here in Gisborne, along with my wife is also the Corps Officer. So we lead the church here in Gisborne, New Zealand for the Salvation Army in this district. COVID-19 has taken a terrible toll on lives, on families, on nations. Leaders of nations have blamed one another for different things during this time. The bounds of decency over moral and ethical matters have been pushed. We've seen workers laid off, businesses closed, governments fighting to ease the pain of the financial issues. Stock markets have gone up and down and up and down. Key investments have taken a hit. KiwiSaver in New Zealand has been in the news and people have wondered, should I take my money out or leave it in? In retirements, well, it's thrown up a whole lot of uncertainty. If there is one subject that gets right under the skin of people in churches, it's finances. You know, I'm not going to ask you for your money. I'm just going to bring you a command that Jesus made and leave you to think about what that entails for you. Why do you think this subject is so touchy? Is it because we see it as being something private and personal? Is it because our life is divided up into material matters on one side and spiritual matters on the other, meaning finances don't fit into the spiritual side? Already realised the spiritual implications of what I've just said? Already thought, no, it is a spiritual matter, and that's why I give to God. Let's consider what I have to say and let Jesus speak to your heart on this matter as we're journeying this together. Jesus lived by obedience. Read the Gospels and we clearly see that no matter what he faced, he was obedient to God's call on his life. That being the case, his followers, his disciples, his church should also be people of obedience and commitment. They, we, you, I, should live a life of obedience too. Jesus commands and teaches us to put what he commands into practice daily, not when we feel like it, but daily. How do you feel about that? Honestly, how are we doing on that front? We can so easily let material things possess us, drive all that we live for, influence our thinking, and see us invest in earthly things rather than taking to heart the need to invest in heavenly matters. What if instead of seeing the need to constantly get material things, we took an eternal look at what was happening? What if we took a spiritual approach to this and took the words of Jesus to heart? Store up treasures for yourself in heaven. Jesus said to his disciples and all those that were sitting around him on that hillside that afternoon. They intently listened to what he had to say. Store up treasures for yourself in heaven, in Matthew 6 verse 20. But I want to get ahead in life. I want not to struggle like my parents have struggled. I want to retire at 45 and not 65. I want. Maybe that's the key. I want. At the time Jesus said, store up treasures for yourself in heaven, he knew the heart of the people there. He knew us. He knew how easily earthly wealth can pull people away from God, from our eternal destiny with him. So what does he do? He says, shift your thinking. Shift your thinking to using all you have for the glory of God. Shift your focus to eternity. Proverbs 13 verse 16 says, wise people think before they act. Fools don't. In fact, it goes on to say that fools crow about it really. Yes, God knows what we need to live on. He knows the struggles that we face each day. But he also knows if we invest in eternal matters, our return will be out of this world. When we put our priorities in the right order, That is, when we put God first in all we do, I'm absolutely convinced that investing with eternity in mind will never be a problem, because it becomes a lifestyle. Shift your thinking, change our attitude, live to invest in the kingdom of God, and give Him the glory as you live like this means. We understand how to live an obedient life like Jesus. As Joel Holms puts it in his book Follow 52, this command keeps your mind, your heart and attention where it needs to be, on eternity. Miss this point, struggle with doing this, and you'll grumble and groan, because what you really want is control over your investment. Your focus isn't on the outcome of heaven, but the outcome of you. You know, that the great feature about living a life that stores up treasures in heaven is that everyone can participate. We can be on a government benefit, we can be a blue-collar worker, we can be a ditch digger, a tree feller, we can be a highly paid executive, or we can be a stay-at-home mum or dad or uncle and auntie or grandparent. It doesn't matter. In the kingdom of God, what matters is what we do with what God has given us, what He has granted us. If we have eternal investment eyes, we will use the riches He gives us to invest in the lives of those who have yet to meet and follow Jesus. It's not about how much we invest, but that we invest the first fruits of what we have been granted, what we have been given by God with eternity in mind. It's about our heart willingly wanting to invest in God for His glory. It's about living life and waiting on God for the results. It's about knowing the cost of being a disciple of Jesus and singing, to be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. In every thought and deed, this is my aim, my creed. To be like Jesus, this hope possesses me. The Spirit's helping me, like Him I'll be. So this week, if you need to wrestle with God about what you've heard, take the time to do that. You know, I see it on Sunday at church. You know, I might see a few people limping next Sunday because they've been wrestling with God. I'd love to see that people wrestle with God over things that He commands. We need to do that. All of us need to be honest with ourselves and with God about what we are storing up and where we are storing it. Let's look for ways to store up treasures in heaven. You might want to spend extra time in prayer. And this is going to be a prayer month for the Salvation Army here in the New Zealand, Fiji, Tonga and Samoa territory. Spend extra time in prayer. Help someone grow in their faith. Give an additional offering to the kingdom of God, if that's what God's saying to do. Carry out an act of kindness. There are lots of things that you could do to invest in the kingdom of God, to bring God glory. Whatever God places on your heart, you're making a statement to Jesus that you are serious, you are committed, you are obeying His call to measure your investment in life by eternity. I pray a blessing on you today. I pray that you will consider these things, and that you will have one awesome week with God wherever you are.